Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you a very enlightening and entertaining discourse. And it is about the pivotal question of why is it only the Igbo people whose origin or origins is perpetually in contention, in discussion in the country called Nigeria and in the world, if I may say, because I have seen groups that are not Nigerian, like the BBC, repeatedly getting involved in the question, getting interested in the question of where the Igbos are from. Nigeria has the Hausa and the Fulani people. In Nigeria, they largely became one group. Nigeria has the Yoruba people. The Yoruba, for instance, have gained global attention. Their religion is in some ways a parent religion, a prominent parent religion of voodoo in Haiti, Santeria in the Latin American world, Candomblé in also these parts of the world. But nobody, as far as I know, is agitated by the origins of the Yoruba people. It is just the Igbos continuously, never stopping, where the Igbos are from is perpetually in contest. And it is clear where they are from. If your culture tells your story, they are descendants of the biblical Israelites. But among those fanning the embers of confusion are to be found some Igbos. But their situation is also understandable. Repeated genocides, persecution, left many Igbos with post-stress, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So they are not in the right position to discuss intelligibly and intelligently. But other Nigerians are interested. That is why it raises a question. A prominent god, stroke king of the Yoruba, the Oni of Ife. By the way, Yoruba religion and tradition supports a monarchy that is also a god. Any Yoruba king is also an Orisha, that is a god. Will keep Nigerians animated if he goes into the questions of the origins of the Yoruba people. He did not do that. What he did was get into the questions of the origins of the Igbos. He did not talk about the Hausa people, who have an oral tradition that the Yoruba people are one of them. In high school, we studied the Hausa Bokwe and Banza Bokwe, oral traditions of the Hausa. The Yorubas are one of the Hausa people. This king did not get into that subject. The differences between Yoruba culture and the Igbo culture are more than the differences between Japanese culture and, say, one of the cultures in Congo. I repeat, the divergences and differences between Yoruba culture and the Igbo culture are maybe less than the differences between Japanese culture and Lingala culture. Lingala is one of the ethnic groups in the Congo. There are no similarities between the Igbo and the Yoruba culture. And this God man did not say there are similarities, but he went into the question of the origins of the Igbos. It's not important for me to get into the reasons why he did that here. I know the reasons. 99% of the Igbos don't know the reasons. He knows the reasons. I know the reasons. But let's not get into it here. Let's be contented with the fact that he did not discuss Yoruba culture and origins, but he began to discuss Igbo origins. There is this social media rock star from one of the East African countries. Not a historian, but due to the same PTSD, some Igbos see him as a very knowledgeable person, because he tapped into something that touches the soul of people that are not inclined to ask critical questions. African! People will begin to think that he really knows or cares about Africa. Some Igbos invited him to Igbo land, maybe to inspire them. Instead of facing what he came there to do, he went into the question of the origins of the Igbos again. And I'm sure he didn't even tell them his own ethnicity and their origins. I started from the present time and I will go back. Nigeria, from inception, had an Igbo problem. A problem called an Igbo problem. I'm talking about what took place over 100 years ago. Nigerians already had an Igbo problem. So what we are saying is not new. But do we leave these problems unresolved, or this problem unresolved? That will not be good. And should we expect every Igbo to know that the problem needs resolution? We will be wishing for too much. We will be wishing for what? Too much. We need resolution and fast, so that Nigerians will face their many problems and focus less on the Igbos. The Yoruba king I mentioned knows that the Shekiri people in Nigeria and the Yoruba people are like the commonalities between the Yoruba and the Shekiri, are like the commonalities between the Efik and the Ibibio. They can understand each other. But he did not talk about the origins of the Ishekiri. He knows that the Ebira language, they are also called the Ibira people, sounds like Yoruba, but he didn't get into the questions of their origins. He knows about the Hausa oral traditions, which include the Yoruba among the Banza Bokwe. But he did not talk about the origins of the Yoruba as a kindred people of the Hausa. He went into the Igbo people, began to talk about their origins, began to distort their history. This is part of the solution. This is what? Part of the solution. If the Igbos, of course, most Igbos or every Igbo knows there is a connection to ancient Israel. But when PTSD has struck, after all, what is PTSD? A sort of mental illness. Today, I found the Igbos who have difficulties reading basic things. They think that the truth, which is that the Igbos, if you like, you can translate this Igbo or Igbo to English and it will give you Hebrew. They think that what, in their warped imagination, what they believe it means is that they are a newer people than the Jews. the, the Igbos are not Jews, the Jews are not Igbos. The Igbos and the Jews are descendants of the ancient Israelites. And because the Jew is an educated person, he knows this history, he's comfortable with it. Unfortunately, the Igbos have the potential to be an educated people, but they found themselves in Africa. They found themselves in Africa. We are the people with the highest levels of formal education. Will still be ignorant of basic things because of the way the educational structure was set up. We are the people we are taught about irrelevant things, and these irrelevant things became part of the foundation of what they call education. And so the Igbo, a lot of contemporary Igbos cannot simply grasp the simple thing that while we could find an over 2,000 years book talking about the Israelites, we have not found a book that is 150 years with the word IGBO written in it. You will find studies about the IGBO people that are 400 years. By the way, saying that they were children of Abraham, but they will be called IBO there. And while we have found carvings on rocks talking about ye Israel, the oldest archaeological foundings in Nigeria, the Iwo Eleru. The skull found at Iwo Eleru, 10,000 years old, was found in Yoruba land. And Yorubas have profoundly capable historians. They have not ventured to say that those skulls are necessarily the skull of present-day Yorubas. But these Igbos, some are 20 years, some are 30 years, that imagine they are older than the Israelites, they actually believe that they themselves, 20 years, 30 years, are older than people that existed 3,000 years ago. That we found evidence that they existed 3,000 years ago. Till date, no archaeology, no piece of archaeological finding has demonstrated that it has a connection to the people that call themselves IGBO people today. None that is 1,000 years. I'm not saying that their ancestors were not in existence 10,000 years ago. They are descendants of the oldest ancestor of modern man. We are all descendants of all of the ancestors of modern man. So our ancestors were in the world maybe 1 billion years ago, but our contemporary Igbos, 20 years, 30 years old in the world, 1,000 years ago. The answers are there for yourself. Why am I going to all this length? I'm warning the Igbo people. You have suffered genocide. You should not be in contention in discussion as you are. You should not be where you are all the time. I would like Nigerians, for a change, to begin to discuss the origins of the Yorubas. They are not. And they are discussing your origins, sometimes with malicious intent, because you deny who you are. You Igbos are descendants of the biblical Israelites. And when you were being murdered in your thousands and millions, you were accused of being Jews. It was not convenient then to doubt that you came from Israel. But now, people who don't know how the world works, they think that with the state of Israel having become powerful and successful, one day it will put down a Boeing 707 and fly all of you to Israel. But that's not going to happen, because you have a higher mission. Even if Israel could do that, that is not what Israel should do. Because 50 million Igbos can actually become one of the most important and powerful peoples in the world. So, putting a few of you in aeroplanes, moving you to Tel Aviv to do odd jobs is not what you deserve as a member and one of the leaders of Women and the Defenders. We acknowledge 100% that we, the Igbo people and the Jewish people, came from one set of ancestors. We acknowledge that ancient Israel is one of our ancestral homelands. But we make no case today for what modern Jews call Aliyah. The Aliyah we make a case for is to Igbo land. That 3,000 square miles of territory washed by the waters of the River Niger and the Atlantic Ocean. And on this note, my Igbo brothers and sisters, even though I have served as your prophet for more than 2 decades, not charged you anything, respect what I beseech you to respect. Stop fueling, stop fanning the embers of discord about yourself. Thank you. Have a great evening.